Hello and welcome to Dugout Daily. I'm Charlie and I'm joined by Chris and Ray. How are you both?
One of us is very happy.
Yeah. Obviously, Saturday was the meaningless friendly, seeing as though we lost. If we'd won, it was a trophy, like you said, Chris. We lost 1-0 to Leicester. We'll go to you first, Ray. Thoughts on our performance on Saturday?
Yeah, we were not very good. If truth be told, we were trying new things. A couple of kids, a lot of second string players, because obviously we had a lot of the Euros and they were not back. So, in all honesty, it's something I said last season. A lot of City's second stringers, if you put them together, they don't make a very good side. So
Yeah.
if you put them in amongst a lot of good players, they work. They can fit because those really good players drag opposition players away, give them space, give them good passes and whatever. But you chuck them all together and it seldom works. Look, Leicester could have been 2-0 up at half time and we couldn't have argued. I think Vardy could have scored. Was it Vardy who had one that went straight at the keeper?
Yeah.
Might have done better. And then right at the end of the half, I think he should have scored. And I think Stefan was lucky to get his fingers to it and push it on the post. So if we'd gone down 2, Leicester would have deserved it. We were a bit, Pep didn't bother on your left. Harvey Barnes was doing whatever he likes. So I can't complain. The thing is, we had a good few chances at the start of the second half. We didn't take them. So, we got hit at the end. It serves us right.
Yeah, big up Static and Jordan in the chat. We'll go to you now, Chris. Thoughts on Leicester's performance on Saturday?
Yeah. To say, we had a lot of youngsters in there as well. We started with a very strong team. We could have, like you say, I think it was a good save from Vardy just before half time, to be honest with you. For me, and we touched on this the other day, Ray, when we were talking, after what had happened with God, my mind's gone. Fofana. I'm still drunk on happiness, with what happened to Fofana in the Villarreal friendly. I think one or two players there were just, I think, in the back of their minds thinking like, you don't want to get injured before the season kicked off, But overall, I think we edged it. I think we probably deserved it. I hadn't realised that there was no extra. I thought we went to extra time, then penalties. Otherwise,
no way they could have done extra time.
Proving myself, So yeah, overall, I've got to be happy, and I was really, really happy for Iheanacho. There's no way anybody was going to get that ball off him. I think it was a definite penalty. The referee, I think, got it right. He waited to see whether we would score or not. We didn't, so came back and gave the penalty. And for Iheanacho to score, he had a brilliant end of season last season. It's finally coming good for him, and I think it would have meant so much scoring. No disrespect, but to score against your old team, it does mean a lot to players, And he didn't, have a huge celebration. He never really does, but I'm really pleased for him.
Yeah. So we've talked about the performance. We'll now go through player by player, starting with City. Zach Steffen in goal, Ray. How do you think he did?
He did all right. He had not a lot to do, really. A couple of saves, but the one that was hit straight at him, he didn't need to move; it would hit him. The save he made, okay. I still say that was lucky. Yes, he had to have a strong hand there, but you need a bit of luck as well.
Was it his hand or his foot that it hit?
His hand. Hit his hand.
Right.
I think he got his
obviously it was down at your end, but
it's one of those things. If Vardy had put it in the other corner, he wouldn't have got to it. So
yeah,
I'm not saying it was a great save. I'm not saying I'd have blamed him if Vardy had scored, because Vardy was 6 yards out. So you're glad for that. There was one where he pushed it wide, where it was already going wide.
Yeah.
There's one really bad pass to a Leicester player in the first half. I said it on my channel yesterday. I don't think Stefan is calm enough to be a City first team goalkeeper. I think he'll be on the bench this season, maybe on the bench next season, and then he'll be gone. He's not a Patron Edison. He's not calm enough. He's not cool enough. He's not got the passing range. As I said, I think he's a decent enough keeper, but not good enough for what we want.
Yeah. To right back now, João Cancelo. How do you think he did?
Didn't have a lot to do, really. I mean, this is a bit of an audition for him to show that some of the good form he showed last season. He went through a roller coaster of a season where, it looked like he started off okay. Then Walker was there, and then Cancelo took over, and we thought Walker was finished because Cancelo was on fire, and then he just fell away as soon as KDB came back and took some of his space and position away. So it was a chance for him to show what he could really do and create, and I don't think he did that. So I will expect Walker to come back this weekend.
Yeah. To the centre backs now, starting with Ruben Diaz. How do you think he did?
He did all right. He's boss man at the back. I don't think he made any. I can't remember any glaring errors. It was decent enough.
Yeah. The other centre back, Nathan Ake.
He's another guy he will never make it at City. Never.
You love him.
Never. Because he got 1 foot and he's not calm enough. He's another one. And look, they're good. Look, Stefan and Ake are good players. They'll be all right at somewhere like Leicester, and they do well. No disrespect intended. The point is, they're not. The way City played, you need to be really calm under pressure. You need to be controlled and cool and all that. And he's not. Bournemouth, he was all right because and people don't realise this when they say, "Oh, this defender is really good" or "that defender is really good" in a bottom third team. Most of what they're doing is defending. They're not doing this playing it out, controlling it, passing it around. And defenders can look really good clearing the ball, making tackles and all that. But City don't do too much of that. It's most of what defenders needed at City is get the ball, pass it, control it, and start the attack. And Ake will never make it. That mistake, he needed the right foot. He was a poor. It may not have been the best pass to him, but he should have controlled it better with his right foot. If he had more confidence, he could have let that ball run across him a bit more, giving himself an extra couple of yards to have take a step and then pass it to the keeper. But he tried to control with his right foot. It didn't give him a lot of space on his left. He got what's the word? He got not nobbled, but he lost the ball. He lost the ball, and then he made the foul. And that's just a poor decision because if you got VAR, it's going to be given. You're not going to get away with stuff like that. So you're better off just, if he'd not made the foul, give the Leicester player a chance to score. But you made the foul, you give him a much easier chance from 12 yards. So, he had a decent game, but as I said, he's never going to make it at City.
Yeah, on to left back now, Benjamin Mendy.
Mendy was all right. He was all right going forwards. I don't think you could complain. Some good crosses, some good interchange and passing, and he made some good runs. But I don't know if it's his fault or it's the way Pep sets it up defensively. When they knocked the ball over the top, he was not there. And I'm not going to blast him for that because I don't know what Pep wanted him to do. Maybe Pep wanted him to be pushed up and rely on Ake to come across. I don't know. So, but that was a concern.
Yeah. On to midfield now, starting with Cole Palmer. How do you think he did?
Didn't really do much first half. First half was a bit tough. I think Leicester had too much of the ball first half for the kids to do much. Second half, I think he was better. But it's a great learning experience for the kids. They'll learn so much from this. They'll learn, that it is a massive step up from playing under 23 level to a side that's, that bottled the top four last season, that finished fifth. But no, Leicester. No. The thing is, Leicester are a good side with some top players. I've got to get some digs in before I disappear, Chris. But no, Leicester are a good side, and you could see the kids things that might have worked under 18s or under 23 level. Leicester players were too experienced. They're too clued up to fall for some of those. So the kids will have to keep on developing. But second half, I think he did better, and he'll learn a lot from it.
Yep. Fernandinho, how do you think he did?
He was all right. But he made a really poor pass in the first half, give the ball away, and Leicester had a good chance to score. Got booked for arguing with the ref. There's no point. Ref's made his decision. There's absolutely no point arguing with him unless you're trying to put off the penalty taker. What's the point? Instead of taking the yellow card, you might as well take a yellow card for kicking the ball away when, Iheanacho's put it down. You might as well just walk over, they kick the ball away and get a yellow card and try and put the attacker off. But there's no point arguing with the ref and getting a yellow card. It's daft. So it was a bit disappointing for a couple of things. But rest of the game, I think he was decent enough.
Yep. Gundogan, how do you think he did?
I was disappointed with him. He's a senior player. He should have been leading from the front. There's a couple of times where I think sometimes senior players, they're a bit disrespectful towards the kids. So if they make a mistake, they just walk away. They don't bother. And if a kid makes a mistake, I think with Edozie once, he looked at him for a bad bit of play for Edozie, and it's like, well, Ilke, you've been making mistakes as well. You don't look at yourself in the mirror. You make a mistake, you just walk off. Kid makes a mistake, you look at him. He made a couple of bad passes to Edozie, actually, I think, where he pushed him wide once, or he pushed him too long when he should have had he should have been putting him through to have a good opportunity for a shot. So I was disappointed for a senior player to put that performance in.
Yeah. Riyad Mahrez now, how do you think he did?
He had a few chances, and it's disappointing. And these are the chances I talked about in the second half. He had that free kick. You won it at least on target, which it wasn't. He had that one-on-one where he just didn't have the legs, the pace to get through. And it was a poor attempt at the end. And there was another opportunity where I think he could have played Cole Palmer in, and he decided to go on himself into the box, and the chance was gone. And I've always said, if you're greedy, you've got to score. If you're going to be greedy and not pass the ball, you've got to score. So, he deserves some criticism. I don't know why the Leicester fans are still booing him 3 years on. He's 3 years on, man.
It's banter, mate. It's banter.
Let it go. I mean, it's juvenile. Let it go. He did you proud. He won the PFA Player of the Year. He got you, to win the league.
Yeah, then he went on strike, and then he went and sat at an airport trying to leave. And then he did nothing after he left and say that he wasted 2 years of his career at Leicester. Yeah, look, we still love him.
Leicester are a club who sacked Ranieri off after 3 months of struggling in the season after he won the league. They didn't show him too much respect. They give him the boot pretty quick. So it works with for and against, but I think it's time now. How long has it been? 4 years? It's time to let it go.
It won't. It's football fans. It won't happen. It won't happen.
I know it won't.
On to Ferran Torres now. How do you think he did, Ray?
Was he playing? Did I miss something? Was he in the team? He was anonymous that first half. He did absolutely zip, and that's the problem. He's there. He's got an opportunity like last season. He played some good games as a striker or a false nine. He's got an opportunity there once again to show that he should be picked. Gabriel Jesus isn't here right now. We're going to go into this season without a striker. Now, even if we do get Harry Kane, and I think that's probably more likely than less likely. Yeah. If we do get him, I don't think Daniel Levy is going to let us get Harry Kane until right at the end of the window. Okay, he's going to make us wait. Now he could if the deal's to be done, he could let it happen after the Spurs game, but that helps City because then Harry Kane might be available for 2 more games before the window closes. I think he's just going to leave it. So that's an opportunity for Torres once again. If you shine, you might have a chance to play 3 league games and establish yourself. And if you have 3 good league games, score 3 goals, maybe if we do get Kane or somebody else, maybe Pep lets them sit on the bench for the first game and gives you another game in the league. And maybe, I really do believe if you played 4 games and played well and scored 4 goals, it's hard to drop you, even for someone like Harry Kane. Yeah. So Torres had another chance for an audition, like Cancelo. People were there. It was a chance for them to show that they do belong. And he fluffed his lines. He was anonymous. Second half, he didn't do much more. And I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did.
Yeah. Next, the final starter, Samadozi. How do you think he did?
Well, he's another one. First half, I think he struggled. He struggled because, as I said earlier, his tricks weren't. The Leicester players weren't falling for his little bits of skill. He needs to learn a bit more. He had that one good chance where he lashed it wide. He'll learn. Second half, I think he did better. He got into better positions. I think he had some good interplay with Mendy. So I think he was better second half. First half, look, it's his proper debut because the friendlies don't count. This is his proper debut. So it's a big game on Wembley. He had a bit of cramp. He worked hard. He's another one. He's going to learn a lot from this, and but another opportunity to have that audition, because if he got that chance he had, once again, it's hard for him to go out on loan. It might be he gets a couple more starts before the end of the window, and then he goes out on loan. But it just means to me he's not going to be playing next week against Spurs. But if he'd scored a goal and played better, maybe he could have started against Spurs.
Yeah. We'll go through a few live comments before the next player. Stu says, Pep is losing the plot. 100 million for Grealish. That's like 100 million for a Poundland Griezmann at a Harrods price tag. He also says, Mikel Oyarzabal outdoes Grealish for the last 2 seasons in goals and assists. So the next player is Jack Grealish. How do you think he did, Ray?
Worth every penny. Look, he's 100 million is just a number. I'm not going to worry about it. If Harry Maguire, United paid 80 million for him, if that deal was going through now, that'd be more than 100 million. So it's all relative. It looks all right. It looks all right to me. It's one of those. He didn't have the top quality players around him, but he looked exciting. He's getting me excited the way Leroy Sané used to. He's very casual and languid on the ball, but he can skip past players, and he can disguise a pass as well. So I like that. Yeah, he'll go down easy. I'm not worried about that yet, as long as he wins a few pens. But the thing is,
we don't want
I like
pens.
that ability to either go past somebody or pass it to somebody else, and to disguise it to it to look the same. It's like if you're into your cricket, like a googly ball. He can do both from the same action. So we'll see. He's only had 1 training session with the lads. Give him a few weeks, and we'll see what he's really about.
We don't want pens. We're crap at penalties.
We're good at them, by the way. We're good at penalties when teams give us them.
A question here in the live chat. We'll go to you first, Ray. Who will have a better season, Sancho or Grealish?
I suspect Sancho will. Probably because he's going to play a lot more than Grealish. United are desperate, and he'll play a lot of games. Unless he goes through a really bad patch, I think Sancho will play a lot of games. He's got a lot of assists. I was looking at his stats. He's got 30 assists from 133 games. KDB's got 34 assists from 230 games. So he's got some good stats. I think Grealish is going to be... We'll see. He might be in and out the side, because on the left we've got Sterling and Foden.
Yeah.
Attacking midfielders, we've got Gundogan. If Bernardo sticks around, Bernardo and KDB when he's back. So Grealish has to get enough games. I think overall, unless Grealish really hits the ground running and sparkles at the start, Sancho will play, maybe 8 or 10 games more. And I think because of that, he'll probably have a better season.
Yeah. Big up, Miss
He's a City
Melanie.
reject. We don't care. Sancho's a City reject. Let's get that in.
Yeah. Same question for you, Chris. Who will have a better season, Sancho or Grealish?
I'm not really bothered, but if you're asking me, it's a good point that Ray made there. Sancho probably will get more games. I mean, they've both got pressure on them in their own way. I mean, Grealish has got that price tag round his neck. We saw how it took Harry Maguire with his, record-breaking price tag. Took him a while to settle in. Now he's doing fantastic. Where Sancho's got that thing that is probably the longest transfer in history. He's the most wanted player, and if he doesn't go out and get 10 every game, you're laughed at. I think probably I'd have to go for Grealish purely because I think he'll probably have better players around him. So I think one player does not make a team, and he's not going to suddenly go on and score, and get a 10 every game. But I just think I can see him doing well at Man City. I think he's a good buy for you, and I'm just jealous.
Yeah. Just quickly, if you're new here, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. What were you gonna say then?
I was going to say Grealish will do all right if we get Hitch up front. If we get Hitch up front, all our players will look for him. He'll score more headers. They'll get more assists. They'll have that target man, which sometimes, the false nine worked most of the time last season, but sometimes you want a striker, to offer you something different. But I think if we get H, hopefully we will. And I think Grealish will get. I think he'll get to 10 assists, which I think for a wide man, I think that's good enough for the first season.
Well, you better get H before Line of Duty does, because if they get him first.
Next player then, Rodri. How do you think he did, Ray?
Yeah, he did crap, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was his pass that put Aki under pressure. He didn't really do that much, but I'll expect him to start next week because we haven't got much to choose from. So he didn't really do that much for me.
Yeah. Next up, Bernardo Silva. How do you think he did?
He had 15 minutes. It's nice to see him. It might be his last game. Who knows? If the rumours are to be believed. I don't think he made much impact on the game.
Yeah, and last but not least, Ben Knight.
Ben Knight, nice to get a debut at Wembley for the senior side. Competitive debut, 15 minutes. He put the effort in, but I don't remember him doing anything that made me think, wow. But it's another one. He's 19 years old. Give him time.
So that's the City players. We'll go to you now, Chris, starting with Kasper Schmeichel. How do you think he did?
Champions of England.
You'll never sing that. You'll never sing that.
Kasper is Mr. Reliable. He made a good save from the free kick early on in the first half. The save that Stefan made from Vardy was almost Schmeichel-esque, if you like, because he just got his body big, and quite often, Schmeichel saves are just him getting his body in the way, and with the star, and he didn't concede, and at the end of the day, that's all you can ask of your goalkeeper. And it was down to excuse me, it was down to Kasper that we saw what good football skills Brendan Rodgers had on the touchline, kicking the water bottle away.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kasper is normal. He's normal, self-assured. He controls that box. He's our captain for a reason. I particularly don't like goalkeepers as captains, but that's just my personal choice. But he controls that box well. And let's be honest with you, I'd probably say, in the 20 Premier League teams, I reckon there's probably at least 15 that would bite our hand off for him.
Yeah. Next up, going to the defence, starting with Ricardo Pereira. How do you think he did?
Yeah, made some good runs. He's slowly getting back to the Pereira that we knew before his injury. You know, he had a bad injury last year, and he was out for quite a long time. He a lot of our players, they were basically okay, if you know what I mean. You know, you can't say that they were outstanding, but they weren't sort of particularly awful. But yeah, I mean, a good game, and I was happy with his performance, and he is getting back to the old Ricardo that we knew.
Yeah. Next up, Daniel Amati. How do you think he did?
Well, now then, this is the one. Fofana, as you know, got injured in the Villarreal game, and we weren't sure which way Brendan was going to go with this. Would he go to a back three again? We were praying he didn't. Thankfully, he didn't. But then, if he stayed with a back four, would he bring Ndidi into the back four because we played him there before, and then put Samari into centre midfield? But then, you know, Brendan Rodgers is a great one. He likes players that can play in multi positions, but
Yeah.
you know, he does look at what we gain by putting Ndidi into the defence is probably not as much as we lose by taking him out of the midfield. Daniel Amati, I mean, he's still only mid-20s. He's played in defence. You know, he was African Player of the Year at the African Nations tournament only a few years ago. He plays better in the back four. And I must admit, a lot of us Leicester fans sort of groaned when we actually realised he was in the starting lineup. But I've got to be honest with you, take my hat off. Well, I won't because I'm bold, but take my hat off to the guy. He was our man of the match for me, and for the two guys that do it with me, that rates the players and does the match report. For us, he was the man of the match. You know, he's probably, to my mind, one of the best games he's had. You know, he kept your guys, you know, emptied his pockets, as they say, after the game, and a couple of your players dropped out. You know, and you know, and I was just so impressed with him. And maybe it's just given Brendan, because we're going to have to probably go back into the market because Fofana's out for the year. James Justin probably isn't going to be back until November. We don't know how long Evans is going to be out for, and he's of an age now when it takes him longer to get off. So we are going to have to probably go and buy somebody, but we'd have probably had to anyway. So it might just mean we've only got to buy one instead of two, or we can maybe be more choosy now. So I think on that performance, he showed his best position for us, and he can't play on the right. He's the centre defender. Well done, Daniel. Man of the match for us at Leicester till I die, and you deserved it, mate.
Yeah. Guys, I'm gonna have to shoot. But before I disappear, thanks, lads, for tonight. Make sure you subscribe to Dugout Daily, Leicester Till I Die, and my channel, City Fan TV. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good evening.
Cheers,
mate. All the best, Ray.
Cheers, guys.
See you in 5 weeks.
We'll beat you. Come on, City.
Yeah, so Amati was your man of the match. What about his centre-back partner, Kagla Soyuncu?
Not far off, to be honest with you. I was worried how he would come back from the Euros because he had a bloody awful Euros, as did the whole Turkish team. And he's now had to step up because, excuse me, Evans isn't there, and he was like the old head in that defence.
Yeah.
Fofana, as you know, he's the one that likes to make the runs forward. He's gone, and he's got a mistake in him as Soyuncu. He likes to do his old Brazilian turns, and he had one of your guys towards the end sort of falling over himself with his Brazilian turns, but he can just as easily lose the ball. But again, I thought he had a top game. I mean, you know, when you look, you know, at your defence, you look at our defence. Your defence on its own, I think, costs more than our whole team put together. So when we look at our defence, and I know you didn't have the full team out, but we had a lot of teenagers coming on and youngsters playing as well. So it kind of worked both ways. But yeah, I thought it was one of, again, he had a good game, Soyuncu.
Yeah. At left back, Ryan Bertrand, how did you think he did?
Well, and he's been with us less than a month, and he's got a trophy. He It was a surprise purchase, to be honest with you, because we've got, like I say, James Justin out. We'd sold Chilwell. Then say James Justin was coming in. He's now out, I say, until November at the earliest, I think. And we've got Luke Thomas, and Luke Thomas has done very, very well. He's got an FA Cup medal. I mean, Luke Thomas has got sort of more medals than Jack Grealish, and he's only 19. Just thought I'd throw that in for you. Interesting stat. But Ryan Bertrand's come in and he's played really well. One of the things about Maddison, and we'll come on to him later, was his free kicks.
Yeah.
He couldn't get it always past the first man. This guy has got such a good free kick. He's taken a lot of pressure off Maddison. He's doing the free kicks. It's just, I'm so pleased with him. And he's such an un-Leicester-like signing because he's a lot older, but he's what we needed. And I'll tell you the other thing he's got as well. He's got the leadership.
Yeah.
He's that much older. And, we haven't got an old team generally. It's quite a young team if you take, apart from like the Schmeichels and the Vardys. And he does. He's out there. He's marshalling. He's shouting, and he's going to turn out to be a bargain buy.
Yeah. Do you reckon he'll start this season?
I don't. I think he deserves to start. I'm going to be honest with you. After the performances we've seen in the friendlies and on Saturday, he does deserve to. I mean, Luke, Thomas is, he's young, but he's got an FA Cup medal. He's scored in Europe in the Europa League. He scored against Man United. So he's, for a youngster, he's coming through. But we're on for, like yourselves, we're in 4 competitions next year. Whether he starts, I can see him definitely starting possibly in Europe because of the experience that he's got. I think there'll be a lot of alternating, if I'm honest with you, because I think we're going to have to do that with fighting on, if we want to do well on all 4 fronts.
Yeah. On to midfield now, starting with Yuri Tielemans. How did you think he did?
And it's very rare that I ever see him have a bad game for us, and I think a lot of the time with the midfielders is when you don't notice them is when they're having a good game, and because they're just getting on with the job and they're doing, we know we've got the pass in him, and the poor guy probably were expecting another 60-yard screamer to win the match. He went off, and that was no disrespect to him because we made a lot of, we were allowed 6 subs each, and I think we both took advantage of that to give players game time and not risk injuries. Yeah, more than happy with him. More than happy. And we just need him to sign his new contract, please, if you're watching Yuri, which I'm sure he is.
Yeah, definitely. On to his midfield partner then, Wilfred Ndidi. How do you think he did?
What can you say? What can you say about Wilf? The guy, again, he's still so young, but, a lot of people say, well, he's not Kante, and but he does. We are worse without him, and again, another good deal. And at that time when I think your player burst through and it was on goal, I think
Mahrez.
Sure. Sorry?
It was Mahrez running
It
through.
was Mahrez. I should remember it being Mahrez, shouldn't I? And he got back, and he didn't necessarily put a tackle in, and he could have given away a free kick, could have given away a penalty, but he did enough to put him off. The guy is an old head on young shoulders, and whether he would go to Man United if you came in with a big enough price, I don't know that they've got any money left or not. But again, all I will say is we are worse off without him, and that sums him up.
Yeah. On to the attackers now, starting with Ayoze Perez. How do you think he did?
Oh, where do I start? He's that player. Brendan picks him, and the fans just don't understand why. Did he have a bad game? I mean, on the ratings from the fans, he probably got the lowest out of any of the players. But he is the player that the fans seem to love to hate now. And if I had any hair left, I would sometimes be pulling it out. But I haven't got that much, so I'm not going to risk pulling any out. But I don't know. Brendan likes him. He does something for the team. And, he was in there, he won an FA Cup medal. He's won a Charity Shield, a Community Shield medal. So he's doing something that Brendan likes him doing. But, the jury's, I think he's got to go and score 4 goals in a game and play like Pele for us to actually sort of say, yeah, he's doing all right. Brendan brought him in because he likes the fact that he's like the first line of defence, if you like.
Yeah.
He defends upfield. Whether the Leicester fans will ever take to him or not, I don't know. He's the team scapegoat at the moment. He had an okay game,
Yeah. James Maddison now. How do you think he did?
I was having this chat on our post-match show the other day, and you were there, and some people say he had a good game. Some people say he had a bad game. He had a better than average game. I don't know whether he's added any more millions onto his asking price or not after that performance. But again, as fans, we can sometimes expect too much. We can expect him to come on and, score a worldly free kick or a hat trick or something like that.
Yeah.
He is that player that can. I mean, that goal he scored against you in the 5-2 win.
Yeah.
I mean, don't want to bring it up again, but it was a worldly, and that's what's in his locker, and when he's on the pitch, he brings the other players in. He's a bit like the Jack Grealish, your players just seem to like to kick him in that game. He took a lot of. I mean, I think within the first few minutes you'd kicked him to the ground, and so he gets us the free kicks, and he had a decent game.
Yeah. Harvey Barnes now. How do you think he did?
Do you know what? I'm so glad he's back to the Harvey Barnes again pre-injury.
Yeah.
He was out quite a long time. We saw in the Villarreal game, and we saw in this. Maybe not quite as much in this game, but occasionally he ran at your back line, and he had you worried.
He was causing Cancelo problems.
Yeah, he was. Again, one of my best players out there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and last of the starters, Jamie Vardy. How do you think he did?
Do you know what? I'm torn. I would never say a bad word about Jamie Vardy. How can we? Do you know what I mean? It's like asking you to say something bad about Aguero. It's never going to happen. But he's not scored for quite a while. And that's strikers. It happens with strikers. We always used to joke about Harry Kane never started scoring till, September was out the way or whatever it was. But I am getting worried. I mean, at the end of last season, he was playing with Iheanacho, the two of them up front.
Yeah.
He's not really done that much in pre-season, and in the he didn't play them together on Saturday. And whilst he was with Iheanacho, he was setting up Iheanacho for the goals. He was becoming the assist man, if you like. Yeah. When he's on his own like that. That goal that you got, that Stefan saved just before half time, that the old Jamie Vardy would have been putting that away. But while he's on the pitch, he's going to worry the defenders. You're not going to like him, If you'd have started that game and your lads had seen that he wasn't on the starting lineup, you'd be going, "Whew, that's a bit," Thank God he's not picked him. So you've always got to pick him. Stick by him, he's going to score again eventually. If it goes in off his arse at some point, he'll get it. But he needs to start scoring quite soon.
Yeah, That's the starters then. On to the substitutes, starting with Kane and Dewsbury Hall. How do you think
Oh,
he did?
I mean, not on for that long, but he is one of the. I talk. He is one of the. He's the new Harvey Barnes. He went to Luton last season. He won I think he won both the young and the full Player of the Year season award. Sorry, amazing player. He's not going anywhere this time. This season, I mean, we're going to keep him. He's in the squad. Should Maddison go, yeah, he's there to take that role up. He's good. Like I say, he was a defend, it was a sub, so it wasn't, I wasn't on long enough to sort of really give him a full judgment. But overall, on the preseason, the guy's one to watch for next season.
Yeah, I'll be back in a second. Just if you can talk about Leicester's performance overall.
Overall, it was. I suppose if you're a neutral, it wasn't a classic, but we won, and like I said at the start, I think overall we probably just edged it, and we deserved to win it. And it probably did mean more to us being Leicester than it did to Man City, because we this is only our third ever Charity Shield. You're there most seasons, one way or another. And it was great to win it, because I mean I was there when we lost to Man United in 2016, and yeah, it's not a good feeling to leave that ground having lost. But I don't, I just watched that and I'm thinking, well, hang on, you did have a lot of youngsters, but then I'm going to be honest with you, so did we. Like I say, we brought a lot of youngsters on. The first half was definitely all us. We did get the better of the first half. The second half maybe a bit more equal, but on the scheme of things, I don't think you can complain at the fact that you lost.
No, I don't think so.
You look like you got something better than French fries there.
Pasta. We got pasta.
Hey.
We'll get back on track with the players then. Luke Thomas next. How do you think he did?
He did okay. Like I say, he wasn't on for long. Came on with about 70 minutes to go. 70 minutes played, I should say. He is. I mean, he's a youngster, so he's going to be. He can only get better. He got booked while he came on, and he was replacing Ryan Bertrand. And I think we're going to see that a lot. We're going to see, like, if Thomas starts, Bertrand may come on, or vice versa. A good enough game, and he's going to be. He's going to be a good player for us.
Yep. Next up, Mark Albrighton. How do you think he did?
You can't, Mark Albrighton just brings something to the team when he comes on. I'm so glad, because there was a lot of rumours about whether he was going to go to Burnley. He's one of the. There's not many of the championship winning teams left now. He's one of them, and I'm so glad he signed a new 3-year contract. He should have been playing for England. I mean, he's such a great crosser of the ball. I was happy when he came on. I mean, he came on. I'm just having a look here. He came on for Perez. Now, if you're saying to me, who would I sooner have? Yeah, that should have probably happened earlier. But I could say, am I feeling, are we being a bit unfair to Perez? But he'll always get a cheer when he comes on.
Yeah. Anthony says, I feel that Leicester giving Man City a good game was a 50-50 decision about the pen, but well done to Leicester.
Cheers, Anthony. Nice words. I'm sorry. I think it was a cast iron penalty. I think if it had been down the other end, you would have all been screaming like mad for it.
Yeah.
And I know I was up till 3 this morning because I rewatched the game on ITV Hub, and yeah, from I was on the other side, so I was on the other side, down the side of the pitch. So I didn't get the best view of it at the time. You see your player go down in the box, so you scream for a penalty. Of course you do as fans. But when I look at it on the telly, I'm it. The referee waited to see whether Daka was going to go on and score or not. He didn't, because again Stefan came out and stopped him. And he then said no, that he didn't get advantage from it, so it's going to be a penalty.
Yeah. Next player, Bubakari Samari. How do you think he did?
Amazing, brilliant. I mean, at one point, I think he evaded 10 tackles by about 4 or 5 of your players in the central midfield. He's a box-to-box midfielder, and I think he's another good buy. And I was watching that, and I'm like, my God, he's a bit like watching Brazil. And I know I say that all the time, but he was. You guys were you couldn't stop him. I think you fouled him in the end, but yeah. I was really pleased with his performance when he came on, and I think we've got again. I think we're going to see a lot of him this season.
He reminds me a little bit of Yaya Toure, how he used to play.
Yes, yep. I wouldn't necessarily argue with that.
Next up, Patson Daka. How do you think he did?
He's so, and I hate to say this because I hate comparing players like, people say indeed he's a new Kante and all that. They're not. They're their own players. He's surprisingly similar to Jamie Vardy. The pace he's got on him, you put a through ball, and there's a couple of balls that went through, and thinking like, how the hell did I think your goalkeeper didn't think he's not going to get that, and it's no shit. He's there. The speed he's got on him is amazing, and I am so looking forward to watching him this season.
Yeah, and last but not least, the former Blue, Kelechi Iheanacho.
A senior man. I must admit, I'm going to give respect to Man City fans here because. Yes, we booed Grealish because he's £100 million player, and that's a bit of banter. With Mahrez, as I was saying to Ray earlier, it's the way he left us that leaves us a bitter taste in our mouth. But you guys, I don't think you booed Kelechi at all.
We clapped him onto the pitch.
Yeah, and respect to you for doing that. And had Mark Albrighton decided to go to Burnley this season, when he came on, if we then played him and he came on, we would do the same with him. But it is certain players. But Iheanacho, like I say, I was beginning to get a little bit sort of, oh, for God's sake, what have we bought here? But then suddenly it clicked last season.
Yeah,
he got us to Wembley. He got us probably to fifth in the league. Jamie dried up, but he came in and stood up. And he's such a nice guy. He won the penalty. It was, he grabbed that ball. Nobody else was going to get that penalty off him, which was a little bit worrying because I'm not always ultra confident with him with his penalties. He'd missed one against Burton in one of the pre-season games when we had a penalty shootout. But then, in fairness, only one of our penalty scorers scored.
Yeah,
your goalkeeper got a touch on it, but it was just so powerful that he was never going to stop it. And whatever you do with it, wherever you're going to aim it, just make sure that they say you put your laces through it. I mean, there's a lot of players man of the match, and maybe that's because he got the goal and what have you. But he is so developing into a great player. He's a lovely guy when we see him interviewed. I'm so pleased it's coming good for him. And of course, I'd have his babies now because he's won the game for us.
Yeah. Anthony says, if Maddison left Leicester, will they still be a great side?
Yes, because we've sold Maguire, we're still a good side. We've sold Chilwell, we're still a good side. One player. A Man City not going to be a good side because Aguero's no longer with you. You know, you move on. You know, we've got Sumari in there. We've got Kieran Dewsbury Hall. Yes, Madison will be a miss, but you know, he's one player at the end of the day. You know, if we just went out and put Madison on the pitch against the 11 players, we know you know what would happen. He is part of another 10 players on that pitch, and maybe 2 or 3 that come on as a sub. So, you know, I don't know whether I'd actually call us a great team at the moment. We're a good team. I don't think we've won enough yet to be called a great team.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I don't think of us as still even as a top 6 side. I think of us as a top 7 side, and I think we've earned the right for that over the last few seasons. But yeah, if Madison goes, like I say, if Arsenal come and give us the money and stop messing about, you know, all this talk that he's happy and he's made agreements. I don't know whether any of this is true or not, but put the money on the table, and if he goes, he goes. But you know, he will go when we're ready. We've got Sumari in, although he's more, you know, say box to box. We've got Kieran Dewsbury Hall. You know, we've got, you know, like yourself, we've got a really good training facility there, and we're bringing the youth through. And you had a couple of young players there, you know, that hopefully you don't just sort of sell on and don't give them a chance, because I think there's a couple there that I can see coming through for you and doing all right.
Yeah. Just before we wrap it up, any final thoughts about the match on Saturday?
It isn't it's not obviously not going to be a guide to how we're going to do. You know, because you lost, you're not going to get relegated. Because we won, we're not going to win the league. But I know, for me as a Leicester fan, I've got to be honest with you, I thought you'd stuff us. I really did. And maybe when I saw that, you know, you hadn't got all your first teamers out there, okay, maybe I thought it might not be, you know, as easy for you as it would have been. But then, you know, you got to think, you know, we beat you once last season, you beat us once. For us, what it's shown is that, you know, we're not going away. You know, hopefully we're going to have another season when we finish around the 5th, 6th position. But I just think it shows that, you know, you can't write Leicester off.
Yeah. Do you see Leicester breaking into the Champions League this season?
Honestly, no. On that, you know, we've just done a prediction show on my channel just before we came on here, and I put us as finishing 5th again, because I'm thinking, like, for us to finish in the Champions League place, you, Chelsea, Man United, or Liverpool have got to drop out.
Yeah.
You know, Liverpool dropped out this season, but again, they proved you can't write them off because they came back at the end with a good run. And I think that's about experience and squads and what have you. But I would be happy with 5th and Europa League, and have a 5 on us winning the Europa League and getting to the Champions League that way.
Just quickly before we wrap it up, where can we find you, mate?
Okay, on YouTube, I'm about 104 subs away from the 1,000. So if you could sub me, I would love everybody gratefully, and message me on Twitter, and I'll sub you back. But it's Leicester Till I Die TV. On Twitter, it's at Leicester TID, and on Instagram, Leicester Till I Die 1.
Yeah, cheers for coming on again, mate.
Hey, mate, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for doing mine earlier, and have a good holiday.
Yeah, just quickly, you can find me at MCFC Hibs on Twitter and Dugout Daily on YouTube. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you all later. Take care.